We do everything throwing out the rules of existing lithium-ion batteries.
A battery that doesn't need any metal whatsoever is made up of around 99 recyclable materials. That is exactly what we mean when we discuss plastic batteries. So how will plastic batteries be the future of battery technology? And most importantly, how will it affect the environment if we're actively trying to get rid of plastic? Let's find out in today's episode of Tesla Car World. Welcome back to our channel. Before we begin, please show your support by subscribing if you haven't already and ringing the bell so you won't miss out on any of our interesting videos in the future. Now, let's get started with today's content. Polyjoule, a startup company based near Boston, is trying to create a new kind of battery, somewhere on the performance curve between those old lead-acid batteries and lithium-ion cells. Their technology relies not on metal, but on polymer plastics. With approximately 12,000 charge cycles, this battery outperforms even the 4680 battery by 6 times. In contrast, a 4680 battery might manage only around 2,000 to 3,000 charge cycles in its lifetime. Polyjoule batteries can also discharge around 1 megawatt of power in 10 seconds, compared to the 60 seconds an average lithium-ion battery needs. So what is the energy density of this battery? The Polyjoule battery cell that's under development has an energy density 5 times smaller than the 4680 battery from Tesla, or about 60 watt-hours per kilogram. Moreover, weight is directly tied to energy density. We know that Tesla's 4680 battery cell weight was clocked in at 355 grams. In contrast, the Polyjoule cell weighs 71 grams, 5 times less than the 4680 battery. What does that mean for the cost of the Polyjoule battery? At present, the Polyjoule battery costs about $65 per kilowatt hour. Many industry observers believe costs must get down to $20 per kilowatt hour or less for battery storage to really force a sea of change in how electricity is made and stored. But keep in mind that economies of scale are still ahead for the fledgling company. But although lithium-ion batteries have reduced drastically in price in the last decade, they still have an average of around $132 per kilowatt hour. A Polyjoule battery is also 2 times less expensive than a 4680 battery. The promise of this battery is phenomenal. $65 for 1 kilowatt hour means $325 for 5 kilowatt hours, which will fully power your home, including air conditioning, for 1 hour. So $3,250 for 10 hours of power backup, or $6,500 for 20 hours of energy storage, roughly a day, all for 30,000 cycles, which is 100 years or a lifetime of use. So if it works as advertised, it'll be indeed a winner.
Based on 10,000 trials, that makes a very good battery for the home that meets that criteria. Low cost, safe, and a long lifetime.
But how exactly does this battery work? Polyjoule batteries use electrodes made of conductive polymers. Simply put, a conductive polymer is an organic-based compound that is not a metal, but can act like one. At the core of a conductive polymer chain, alternating carbon-to-carbon single and double bonds connect to form a conductive backbone that allows electrons to flow along the polymer chain. So then what's so unique about Polyjoule? Conductive polymer-based technology uses a standard 2-electrode electrochemical cell that contains conductive polymers. That's 2-electrode electrochemical cell, along with a carbon-graphene hybrid and a non-flammable liquid electrolyte. At the electrode level, positive ions and negative ions travel back and forth between the electrodes as the cell is charged and discharged. During charging, the ions are stored in the electrode bulk through a Faradaic process called oxidation. During discharging, the ions are expelled from the electrodes through a Faradaic process called reduction. Man, I sound like those videos that you would watch in science class. Now, who is collaborating with Polyjoule?
First customer is an industrial distributed energy consumer.
Late last year, the company installed the world's first industrial-scale organic battery on one of Fonterra's farms in Teirapa on the outskirts of Hamilton. The battery was used daily, supporting dairy shed operations for 10 months. Fonterra is now moving this battery to its Waitoa UHT site, which can be affected by power disturbances, leading to downtime and waste. The Polyjoule battery has a remarkable discharge rate and could eventually lead to ultra ultra-fast charging of the Fonterra vehicle fleet, including the Milk-E electric milk tanker. Polyjoule batteries could not only benefit Fonterra, as New Zealanders could also take advantage of the lowered wholesale electricity prices anticipated through the capacity increases provided by a grid-scale battery. But what about Elon? Will he join the plastic battery industry?
And the original idea back before grid energy storage was even on the minds of Tesla.
Tesla's success points to the consumer's interest in doing what's right for the environment. However, the materials needed for the batteries are another point of contention. There are accusations of the poor treatment of indigenous populations surrounding a lithium mine in Argentina. If this plastic technology is highly feasible, maybe Musk will participate in this project. The idea of using plastic batteries for Powerwall and Power Pack is quite an interesting one. Tesla has begun using lithium iron phosphate battery cells in its Megapack grid-scale storage systems. Today's conventional lithium-ion grid-scale battery storage facilities can typically supply electricity to the grid for about 4 hours. Meanwhile, Polyjoule's plastic batteries might be able to store energy longer. In tests, it retained 92% of its capacity over a 20-hour span. If this turns out to be true, it'll be a huge step forward. Another important issue when inventing a new type of battery is how will they be recycled? Polyjoule batteries are completely environmentally friendly and easy to recycle. Polymers can be easily synthesized from basic chemicals and potentially renewable sources, which lowers the price and makes environmentally harmful mining unnecessary. Furthermore, the recycling or disposal at the end of the lifetime is more facile, as polymers can simply be incinerated with regular waste and do not need to be treated separately. Besides that, Elon Musk said that the 4680 structural battery pack found in the Texas-made Model Y can indeed be recycled. The company says, unlike fossil fuels which release harmful emissions into the atmosphere that are not recovered for reuse, Tesla's lithium-ion batteries are recoverable and recyclable. Battery materials are refined and put into a cell, and they will still remain in the cell at the end of their lives when they can be recycled to recover their valuable materials for reuse over and over again. How do you feel about plastic batteries? Do you think that Elon will develop this type of battery in the future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. The advancement of battery technology is the new bullseye for companies striving to meet the world's growing appetite for EVs, with a focus in battery life, which is currently still one of the top concerns for electric car buyers because the long-term operation of EVs depends mainly on the battery. However, scientists have figured out how to make a battery last up to 200 years, and could completely change the electric vehicle battery industry. 2 years ago, a sensation of doubt arose around the notion of a million-mile battery, an extraordinarily durable lithium-ion battery that could last decades while powering an electric vehicle over long distances and costing more or less the same as an ordinary battery. A million-mile battery is equivalent to around 70 years of battery life. Jeff Dahn, a Dalhousie University professor and lead battery scientist for Tesla, was also interested in this concept and gained more traction at the time when Tesla later said they were on the verge of actually producing such a battery. But just as soon as it gained traction, it was gradually forgotten. It turns out, however, that those leading battery researchers have quietly continued to develop batteries that last 1 million miles or longer. Accordingly, Tesla battery researchers with Professor Jeff Dahn have presented updated test results for their battery cells. Instead of 1 million miles, the batteries are now expected to last 10,000 cycles and provide traction power for more than 2 million miles. That's about 3.5 million kilometers, which is similar to around 200 years of battery life. Jeff Dahn explained the results from his work on particularly durable battery cells. Accordingly, to get there, Dahn described pairing a very good artificial graphite anode with a nickel manganese cobalt battery called NMC532. Dahn also shared, with special additives, particularly the liquid separating the two electrodes, which would use chemicals such as methyl acetate to allow the battery to charge fast while not damaging it, The batteries should be able to withstand 10,000 cycles. Assuming a relatively conservative 350-kilometer range per cycle, for example a full charge from 0 to 100%, this would be 3.5 million kilometers. Hence, this number clearly surpassed the 1 million miles that were announced before. 3.5 million kilometers or 2 million, whichever one you like, it's still a big deal. Because now the life cycle for electric vehicle batteries is currently limited to hundreds of thousands of miles. Tesla is still offering a minimum 70% battery retention guarantee over a period of 8 years, or 120,000 miles. The Chevy Bolt from GM has a standard 8 years, 100,000 mile warranty for its battery as well. According to Professor Jeff Dunn, if the cells were treated more carefully, specifically if the complete charge stroke from 0 to 100% was not used, the cells could even last 15,000 cycles. In fact, graphs published by a source show a much more constant cell capacity over 10,000 cycles with a charge stroke from 0 to 80%, than with a charge stroke of 0 to 90 or 0 to 100%. If the batteries were only discharged by 25% to 50% of their capacity, they would show almost no degradation. This is a charge level range that many electric car drivers use in practice. The battery is rarely discharged to less than 20%. On the other hand, it's rarely charged over 80%. Don's Dalhousie lab reports that it has now cycled its experimental battery cell 13,000 times, which would allow a vehicle to travel 3.2 million to 3.7 million miles, depending on how many miles were driven per year, while retaining an astonishing 93% of its initial capacity. But that's only if the battery stays at room temperatures of around 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. At more punishing but realistic temperatures of 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, Don's cells have performed less as well, but still stoutly, lasting 6,500 cycles and retaining more than 80% of their initial capacity. In view of such range and degradation figures, Don himself raises the question of whether batteries are needed that are this good. He quickly answers this question with yes. For one thing, such durable batteries would not have to be recycled after use. He claims since they are as good as new, they could simply be installed in a new car after use in the first car after it has been scrapped. On the other hand, they could be used in vehicles with higher requirements, such as commercial vehicles and electric ferries. In addition, 3.5 million mile batteries or 200-year life batteries that do not suffer from frequent charge-discharge cycles could also be better integrated into the power grid and stabilize the grid, not only as stationary storage devices but also in the vehicle. In order to nevertheless be able to store power in vehicles, the development of vehicle-to-grid or V2G applications is inevitable. In Jeff Dunn's vision of the future, electric cars double as renewable energy storage devices. He said, "You have to be able to store renewable energy for when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining." Equipped with long lifetime million-mile batteries, electric cars of the future will be brimming with unused energy. When the car is parked and night has fallen, excess energy can be redirected back into the grid to power homes, buildings, and anything else connected to the grid. Cars will no longer just consume energy, but could also be a valuable source of energy. This process of vehicle-to-grid energy is something Jeff Dunn is really excited about. In order for this to work, the batteries need to be extremely powerful. That's why he's hoping to finalize a battery that can last several thousand charging cycles. Several experts said that vehicle-to-grid sounds great, but it'll require buy-in from energy companies, car manufacturers, and governments. It will also require smart technology and vehicle-grid integration. In other words, charging stations will need to be bi-directional in order to push and pull electricity between the cars and the electric grid. On the other hand, Tesla was rather reserved on the subject of bi-directional charging with reference to battery life. However, some sources revealed that Tesla was preparing a bidirectional charging function later on. Furthermore, most likely in the near future, Tesla's team of battery scientists and experts will quickly develop and apply million-mile batteries for its models. It will be one of Tesla's most terrific battery technology breakthroughs. Ultimately, has any electric vehicle company applied this million-mile battery technology? In China, BYD and CATL, the battery giants, are each advertising an electric vehicle battery life of 750,000 to 1 million miles, which is equivalent to 5 to 7 decades of average driving. Meanwhile, in the West, a GM spokesman said that the company's Ultium battery, which will be used in its electric cars, will last 1 million miles, or 1.6 million kilometers as well. They also promised its Ultium battery would be cheaper and more efficient than any other conventional battery.
I believe that lithium will come first and then sodium comes second.
What happens if your electronics could soon be powered by an ultra-cheap sea salt battery? Researchers at the University of Sydney are touting new breakthroughs in the lab that they say may lead to new low-cost sodium-sulfur batteries with 4 times the energy storage capacity of lithium-ion batteries. So what does the new sodium-sulfur battery offer? And will Elon Musk invest in this technology? In order to truly achieve climate neutrality, the world would require 18 times more lithium by 2030 than it currently needs. The proportion will increase to 60 times more by 2050. The extraction of lithium usually results in a loss of biodiversity, water shortages, damage to the ecosystem, and the degradation of the soil. When the metal is created through evaporation ponds, it takes around 2.2 million liters to create just 1 metric ton. This is where the sea salt battery could provide an alternative, which brings us to molten salt batteries. Molten salt batteries aren't a new concept. They've been around for 50 years, but they've been an inferior alternative with a short energy life cycle. To overcome these limitations, lead researcher Dr. Shenlong Zhao from the University of Sydney has altered electrodes in the battery that improve the reactivity of the sulfur, which is what gives it such a high capacity. So how does its price compare to lithium batteries? The eponymous key ingredient in the sodium-sulfur battery is a type of molten salt that can be processed from seawater, which Earth has quite a lot of. As such, the main battery ingredient costs much less to produce than lithium-ion batteries. After a series of downward revisions in the average price of lithium-ion batteries over the past decade, rising raw material costs and inflation resulted in a 7% increase in 2022 to reach an all-time high of $151 per kilowatt hour. Our sodium battery has the potential to dramatically reduce costs, only $20 per kilowatt hour, while providing 4 times as much storage capacity. This is a significant breakthrough for renewable energy development, which, although it reduces costs in the long term, has had several financial barriers to entry, said Dr. Zhao in a release. How effective is this battery? The result is a sodium-sulfur battery with a high capacity of 1,017 milliamperes at room temperature, which the team notes is around 4 times that of a lithium-ion battery. Importantly, the battery demonstrated good stability and retained around half of this capacity after 1,000 cycles, which is described in the team's paper as unprecedented. How long can molten salt batteries last? It is a high-temperature battery. Molten salt batteries operate at 300 degrees Celsius, and their lifetime is claimed to be 15 years or 4,500 cycles with an efficiency of around 85%, which means it lasts at least twice as long as lithium ion. Is this battery an environmentally safe solution? It's quite necessary that the new batteries that are being made be absolutely renewable. This is why it's a big achievement that the new sea salt batteries are created from energy that will not harm the environment. With climate change, there is a definite urgency to switch completely to renewable energy sources like solar and wind energy. However, it must be understood that renewable sources of energy are not really as consistent as other sources. These include batteries, as they would also have to store the electricity somewhere. This is why most batteries are usually created with rare earth metals like graphite, lithium, and cobalt. Where would molten salt batteries be applied?
But they are now considering to test sodium sulfur batteries for grid storage.
Because sea salt is everywhere, it can provide a scalable alternative to lithium-ion batteries. Sodium-sulfur batteries will not be appropriate for use in automobiles. However, the cells are also less toxic and more energy intense, making them easier to recycle and more economical to produce when compared to lithium-ion batteries, which are widely used in electronic devices and for energy storage. The world is going to need energy storage options for large EV charging stations and grid-scale storage to help make renewable energy dispatchable, so we can close more gas-fired peaker plants and coal-fired baseload generating stations. Such technology has the potential to guarantee greater energy security more broadly and allow more countries to join the shift towards decarbonization. Anything that reduces carbon emissions is welcoming news. We hope that by providing a technology that reduces costs, we can sooner reach a clean energy horizon. It probably goes without saying, but the faster we can decarbonize, the better chances we have of capping warming, said lead researcher Dr. Zhao. So, how long will it take for this battery to get out on the market?
I have no clue, but I think it's going to take a few years, maybe at least 10 years.
Having demonstrated the technology in coin cell batteries in laboratory testing, the researchers are now working on pouch cell versions as they eye a path to commercial use. That means 5 years or more before actual production begins, or even longer. While we might wish such new technologies came online sooner, it's encouraging that there may be solutions for lower cost energy storage coming in due course. Can Tesla make use of molten salt battery chemistry? Tesla uses two primary chemistries for its batteries right now: lithium-ion and lithium iron phosphate batteries. Lithium batteries are used for most EVs except the standard range vehicles that don't need fast acceleration or power and for stationary storage in megapacks. Tesla could make use of sodium right now, but it would be risky. The reason is that the battery chemistry hasn't been widely proven to have a problem-free lifespan, and testing hasn't been thoroughly done in EVs. For Tesla to make use of this sodium battery chemistry from the University of Sydney in Australia, they'd have to allocate a portion of their staff to testing this new battery. I think it's worth doing to prove if it's viable and indeed 4 times more efficient than lithium. It's the commercialization of this sodium battery that's the bottleneck to its future. Like all successful products and innovations, there has to be an extended testing period. Just look at the Tesla FSD. It's been tested for many years now and will continue to be tested for years to come. How do you feel about the future of molten salt batteries? And how long do you think it'll take for it to hit the market? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below.
This is a great start. We think that it has a bright future.
What if there existed a urine-powered battery that offered a cheap source of power? The latest development comes from Stanford University, where researchers created an aluminum-ion battery that uses an electrolyte material made of urea, the main component of urine. So, what is the real reason they developed this battery, and how does it actually work? This isn't the first battery or device to use P-power either. In the past, urine has been used to power dead phone batteries and P-powered toilets. Go figure. Yes, P-powered toilets were even once used to provide electricity to disaster zones. This new battery is also an update of a first-of-its-kind aluminum-ion battery introduced in 2015 by Stanford professor Hongju Dae and his team. The original version used a chemical mixture known as EMIC, which is 1 part ethyl, 3 parts methylimidazolium chloride, as its main electrolyte ingredient, but mostly the same, except for the use of urea instead of EMIC, which is 100 times cheaper and produced commercially as a component in fertilizers. So how much does a new aluminum-ion battery cost? The most attractive feature of this battery is its low cost. The researchers said that the estimated price of the new aluminum-ion battery will be around $8.99 per kilowatt hour, which is 12 times cheaper than the 4680 battery from Tesla. As we know, each 4680 pack costs $7,400 to produce, which means we get a cost per kilowatt hour of $104. Moreover, if produced on a large scale, urea currently costs 50 cents per kilogram when produced on large scales. LiFeC, or lithium bisfluorosulfanilamide, I hope I'm saying that right, is an electrolyte for the 4680 battery. Its cost was $98 per kilogram. Aside from aluminum and graphite, the electrode materials in an aluminum battery are also very cheap and would be negligible in the overall cost of the battery. What you have is a battery made with some of the cheapest and most abundant materials you can find on Earth, says Day. And it actually has good performance. Who would have thought you could take graphite, aluminum, and urea and actually make a battery that can cycle for a pretty long time, says the good professor. But speaking of which, how is the efficiency of this battery shown? Despite having an energy density that is half that of the 4680 battery, the new aluminum ion battery has a better charge-discharge rate, is non-flammable, and charges in 45 minutes as opposed to almost an hour for the 4680 battery.
But our aluminum battery is non-flammable, so if you drill the hole through it, it's still running for a while.
Day and Angel's battery was designed to provide a solution to the grid storage problem. According to Angel, grid storage is the most realistic goal because of the battery's low cost, high efficiency, and long cycle life. One kind of efficiency, called Coulombic efficiency, is a measurement of how much charge exits the battery per unit of charge that it takes in during charging. Try to say that 5 times fast. The Coulombic efficiency for this battery is high at 99.7%. But then how much energy can they produce? This battery measures just 1 square inch, or about the size of a postage stamp. Currently, it can generate around 2 watts per cubic meter of energy, which is about enough to power a cell phone. But the team is working on improving the design, and the researchers said they are confident they will be able to increase the performance. Now, when compared to the 4680 battery, how long does it last? For commercial viability, a grid storage battery would need to have at least a 10-year lifespan. The urea battery has reached 1500 charge cycles in lab conditions, but the researchers are pushing to extend that by tinkering with the battery's chemical processes. For comparison, 4680 batteries have between 1000 to 2000 cycles depending on the nature of charging. We find the difference in cycle life to be negligible. But are aluminum ion batteries really safe and environmentally friendly? The battery is also carbon neutral, according to the researchers, which means no additional carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere when it operates. The cost effectiveness of the materials used, the zero emission of harmful gases, and the use of waste as fuel with the additional advantage of treating waste while generating electricity all contribute to how the device can support secure, affordable, and environmentally friendly energy. So how is this battery used in the real world?
So you can have a potential application in like grid scale electric storage. So it's quite exciting.
As the demand for renewable technologies grows, so does the need for cheap, efficient batteries to store the energy for release at night. They believe their battery might be the solution to the conundrum of renewable energy storage, and grid storage is the main goal. With this battery, the dream is for solar energy to be stored in every building and every home. Day was quoted as saying in a news release from Stanford, "I would feel safe if my backup battery in my house was made of urea with little chance of causing fire," added Day. Maybe it will change everyday life. Moreover, according to the International Energy Agency, around 1.2 billion people in the world don't have access to electricity. By developing cheap and simple ways of generating electricity, people in these poor and developing or rural areas could be helped much sooner, the researchers said. The technology has the potential to address the poor sanitation in developing countries and remote areas while generating electricity. The researchers have reported their work in the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences and licensed the battery patents to AB Systems. A commercial version of the battery is currently in development. They are also planning to work on increasing its lifespan down the road by further investigating its internal chemical processes. In short, the birth of a new battery is the beauty of science, and that's why we get excited thinking about all the brilliant minds hard at work on the great challenges of tomorrow. Hopefully, this sneak peek should give you you an idea about some applications of batteries made from urine, or at least its byproduct. How do you feel about the battery that's powered with pee? Do you think it can be used on electric cars? Wouldn't that be interesting? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Otherwise, that's it for today's episode. We sincerely thank you for watching and for all of your support of our channel. As always, if you enjoyed our video, please leave us a like, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell to stay up to date on exciting developments in the world of EVs and green technology. Once again, we thank you so much and we hope to see you again next time. Until then, take care and be safe.